Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jacob Calebs. I am the president for the Wayne State University chapter of SPS. Thank you all for joining. Of course, we have a couple people on Zoom, a couple people in person. Excuse me, I'm just eating. Of course, anyone would wish for a higher attendance, but it is no matter. I know it was very short notice, and it's amazing that we could even get this many people in such short notice. So I'm very happy to have you all here. I hope that the drive-in, for those who came in person, worked out well. Very nice that we got some free parking from our Dean of Students office. And now that we all get to meet over here. It's really important to me as chapter president to try and get more inter-chapter connections going, trying to connect with Lawrence Tech, maybe down to Ohio, just trying to reach as many chapters as we can to get more inter-chapter events going, because that's what I really think is important about SPS, is that ability to network with people. It's very important, of course, in the field of physics, no matter which branch of physics you go into, which industry you go into, which research field you go into. Networking is very, very important. You're going to be collaborating with people constantly, and I think that's very important that we are doing what we can to promote that within Zone 7. So again, thank you all, and I will hand it over to Dr. Kuman to continue.
Thank you, Jacob.
Right. I'm going to go ahead and share out my screen and get this going right here. Let's see. Can you see the screen at online?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, great. Super. Okay, great. Well, thanks everybody for coming. Rebecca is on her way. She'll be here shortly. Just as a matter of introduction, I am the zone counselor for Zone 7, which means that I am responsible for chapters in our zone, which encompasses the Lower Peninsula of Michigan, Ohio, Western Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. We'll talk about more of that in a bit. But I wanted to first of all thank Wayne State University for hosting today. Thanks for all the food and getting the room reserved. I know it's been a fair amount of work to do that, especially near the end of the semester here where things were busy. So we really appreciate that. We've traditionally been having these zone meetings in conjunction with the American Physical Society meetings, the regional meetings. Last one was at Lawrence Tech, the Eastern Great Lakes section meeting. But this one we decided to do kind of a solo meeting, which is how some chapters do all the time, or some zones do it all the time. I also wanted to thank Rebecca for her service as the Associate Zone Counselor. So Rebecca has been the Associate Zone Counselor for the last 2 years. And she's been going to Society of Physics Students National Council meetings and serving on committees, and we'll talk a little about some of that. I just want to thank her. She is outgoing after the end of June. All right, so here's the schedule for today then. We've completed the opening remarks, and we're going to start off then after that with some introduction by attendees. We'll have some updates about some of the activities at the National Council level. We had our last meeting in April for this year, this academic year. So I'll talk about some of the things that have been going on there. After that, we want to have some discussion about chapter activities, things that you might be able to do with your chapter. And always good to kind of see what other folks are doing. After that, then I've got a talk I'd like to give on graduate school and what you might need to do to prepare for that, something you might be in your future. And then we'll have some time to just talk about chapter networking as Jacob mentioned. And then we'll have some closing remarks. And if you're here in person, then we're all going to try to go out to dinner. So stick around for that. Okay, so that's the basic schedule for today. So I'm going to switch over to my other presentation. I'll stop sharing this here. Okay, and I'm going to go to the other presentation, which is here. Here. Okay, and let me open that up. So I'm still getting used to this, Zoom with the owl here. Share screen. Into this one here. Okay. Share. Display. All right. Can you see that? Can you see that? Okay, great.
Yes. Yep.
Just Zone meeting kickoff. Okay. So here's what I'm going to try to talk about here in this initial presentation. So again, welcome you here to the Zone 7 meeting. We'll have some time for introductions. I want to give you some updates about how we're trying to improve communication in the zone, give you a summary of some of the year-end chapter activities and that you should be doing with your chapters, or you can be doing with your chapters. Also, want to talk about some of the updates from the National Council. Want to talk about the possibility of having a new Zone 7 council, just for our zone. And also talk about some other things in regards to how to, what kind of improvements we want to make within the zone. So that's kind of the agenda for this initial talk. All right, so as I mentioned here, we are in Zone 7, which is marked in yellow on the map there. It's a good sized region. We have nominally 90, I believe 98 chapters, which are registered in that area, it's one of the largest zones in terms of number of chapters. There are 18 total zones across the country and actually extends into some other countries as well. You can see down here at the bottom, Zone 4 includes Egypt, and Zone 18 includes China, India, Philippines, and Singapore. But predominantly it's United States. So that's kind of the extent of things. And so every zone then sends a student, the associate zone counselor, and a faculty or professional who is the zone counselor. That plus the SPS president consists of the National Council. Okay, so basically then, just to sort of briefly summarize, the mission statement of Society of Physics students is to help transform themselves into contributing members of the professional physics community. And so you all take classes, right? But that's only part of the story. And so, you know, what other things do you need? We need to be able to communicate effectively, work with other people, in some cases demonstrate leadership, be able to interact with people at professional meetings, present your work in journals and at professional meetings, and in some cases perform outreach, folks in other communities in and around your campus. So the Society of Physics students is supposed to try to help facilitate all of those things. Sorry, I gotta take a call from Becca. Hello, Becca. Yeah, here, I'm gonna give you to Jacob so he can give instructions, okay? Okay, sorry about that. All right, so so I thought we'd start off with some introductions, so that way everyone gets to know everybody. Let's see, why don't we start with the folks online? If you just feel free to unmic yourself, maybe Dr. Ozzie, do you want to start?
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Hiba Asi. I'm a new faculty at the University of Detroit Mercy down the road. We've been very busy with training for the past 2 days, so I'm really sorry I can't be there in person because I had to rush home after my training in the morning. I'd have loved to be there in person. My interest is our chapter has been dormant for some time. I just joined the university and I would like to revive it. So I wanted to come here and hear from you, your activities, and what SVS has been able to do, especially that our school doesn't have a major. So we don't have physics students as like major students. We have the more of like the service coming from other departments. So it'd be good to know how to engage them and the community, given that we are, you know, of that nature. Thank
Great. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Thank you very much. So previously, Dr. Rossi was a faculty at Kettering University, where I am also. Okay, and let's see. Kenna, are you still there? Okay, great. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm McKenna Maher. I'm the new president for the physics club at Kettering University. I am a sophomore and I'm in engineering physics is my major. So I'm interested in the physical aspects behind physics and also the theoretical kind of stuff that not many people have, you know, thought about, I guess. I want to get into that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to join and I am excited to put fresh ideas on the table.
Super. Thank you very much. Let's see. Let's go around the people in the room then. Would you like to start?
Sure. My name is Brandon Boudreau. I'm from Wayne State. I'm currently a junior. And currently I do research in cortical plasma. And that's pretty much where I want to stay is working with
Nuclear physics. Okay. Can you all hear online? Sort of. Okay. You may want to come up closer when you talk. Okay. So again, your name was
Brandon Boudreau.
Brandon. Okay. Brandon. Okay. We already heard from Jacob. So unless you want to say some more things about yourself.
I mean, currently, I'm an astrophysics major here at Wayne State University, and I've got one more year in my bachelor's before I go to grad school somewhere. Currently doing research on active galactic nuclei, and I plan to keep with high energy astrophysics. I'll be off in Virginia over summer, conducting galaxy research with the National Radio Astronomy Observatory.
Very nice. Go ahead, T.Y. Why don't you come up? Yeah. Yeah, why don't you just come up a little closer so we can make sure you can hear you. Just sit down there. It's good.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tia Abbas. I'm from Lawrence Tech. I'm an electrical engineering major, and I'm in my junior year. And I'm the vice president of our SPS organization at Lawrence Tech. And I've always been interested in physics. So once I heard that we had an SPS organization, I decided to join. And then a semester later, I was able to become vice president. So I'm trying to learn more and try to get as many people as possible within the organization so they can learn as I did.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming. Really appreciate it.
I think that's a great example of SPS isn't just physics students. It's electrical engineers,
sure.
Biologists, anyone.
Sure.
I like
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely at Kettering, we have the same thing. Y'all want to introduce yourselves?
Hello, my name is John, and I'm a academic service officer at Wayne State. I graduated from Wayne State, and I'm in the Department of Geology and Environmental Science. I work with alpha and beta gamma detectors. We keep those in the physics building.
Sure.
And so I work with students, some of them are environmental, some of them are physics students. So I'm working with all different types of geology majors, doesn't matter. We
Sure.
all use the same instruments in physics. So.
Sure. Great. Thank you.
My name is Dawn Niedermiller. I'm proud to say that I'm the primary Society of Physics Students advisor at Wayne State here. Very proud of my students. I'm excited about being here today just to get more ideas about what we can do, not just as our own chapter, but in Zone 7, and then we're going to broaden out into the national SPS. So we want to become a lot more involved. So I'm excited to hear more about different things today.
Excellent.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for hosting again. Okay, super. And Becca is on her way, as far as we know.
She's running.
She's coming. Okay. All right, she'll introduce herself when she gets here. So I just did want to make people aware about some of the ways that we're trying to communicate with people in the zone. So first of all, if you haven't been to our website, please check that out. You can just type in SPS Zone 7 and pretty much will come up. I think the first few hits on Google. your favorite search engine. And it's got a very nice, maybe I can even go there real quick. Actually, we'll do that later. But it's got a nice collection of information about the zone, and in terms of it's got a list of all the chapters in the zone, divided by state, both the chapter numbers, and also if they have Sigma Pi Sigma chapters, the Society of Physics Students Honor Society also has a list of some of the past zone meetings, some of the things we did at those zone meetings, and a little bit of history about some of the previous winners of our outstanding chapter awards, and previous zone counselors and associate zone counselors. So lots of good information there about that. You can look up your chapter there. We're trying to get going again our Zone 7 Discord server. So we started a few years ago during the pandemic, and then after things got back in person, we didn't use it too much anymore, but we're trying to bring it back. I think it's a good way to communicate over our quite a large zone. It's many states. So if you're not a member of that Discord server and you use Discord, I encourage you to do that. We have a YouTube channel, which I have in the past posted different recordings of events that we've done, mostly from zone meetings. So for example, a few years ago, we had a panel discussion with some graduates who were had undergraduate physics majors who went to work straight to work. They didn't go to graduate school. And so talking about some of their experiences and what they did. So not everybody goes to graduate school, so it's nice to have that kind of perspective. So there's that and other things as well. So you can check that out. And we're open to other social media or things like that. But there's a lot of them, so we haven't really figured out what else to do. So if you have suggestions, please let us know. Again, I just wanted to briefly mention here, we do have the SPS National Council is the overseeing body for the Society of Physics students. As I already mentioned, there are the 18 zones with the zone counselors and associate zone counselors. The students serve 1-year terms and can serve up to 2 terms. And then the zone counselors can serve also up to 2 terms, but they have longer 3-year terms. In addition, there's an executive committee which oversees the day-to-day operations of the society. That includes the Society of Physics student president, the Sigma Pi Sigma Honor Society president. There's a member at large. There's an associate zone counselor who also sits on that. There's an executive director, Brad Conrad, who is on that. There's a historian, and also hey, it's Rebecca. The AIP CEO. AIP is the American Institute of Physics. They are provide a lot of funding for the society, so it's important that they're involved. So this is a picture here from from PhysCon, actually. This was in Washington, D.C. And let's see, Becca was not in this picture because you were at the Green Bank Observatory, but you can see me way in the back.
Rather than in this photo.
But Brad Conrad here is right in the front and center. And let's see, who else is here? Let's see. Oh, Carol Stritzley, he is the current SPS president. He's the back. He's running for re-election right now. And I believe Blaine Baker is in there someplace. I don't see. Oh, right here. And he's the current Sigma Pi Sigma president. Why don't we take a pause here? Becca, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Becca. I'm the associate zone counselor. Today's been kind of a day, but I'm here and I'll be here for the rest of the day.
Do you want to talk? We got people online here too. So you got to
Hello. Yes.
talk a little bit about what you're doing right now.
Okay, so what am I doing, like my day to day?
So you graduated.
Okay, I did recently graduate, and now I work. Thank you. I work at General Motors as a test engineer, and I'm working with fuel cells. So it's pretty fun. If you have any questions, let me know. I understand maybe it's not your default physics career, but who knows? You know, the world is a diverse, yes. More or less, yes.
So Becca is also a graduate of Kettering University.
Yes.
And mechanical engineering, right? So,
yes.
Yeah, so, okay.
So
great, super. So we can. I'm just going to keep going if that's okay, and then we can tag team if you want. Okay. So I wanted to provide a little bit of an update about year-end activities, things that are kind of up and coming for your chapter. So these are the things I want to talk about. So we'll just go through them one by one. So first of all, the SPS National Council election is going on right now. If your chapter hasn't voted yet, you still can. Voting closes tomorrow. So your advisor should have received a code in the mail, which they can, and a link to go submit their vote. So if you haven't yet done that, please do that. Each chapter gets one vote. You can vote more than once, but only the last one counts. There are, for our zone, then 2 open seats you'll see on the ballot. There'll be a seat for the associate zone counselor. There are 3 student candidates running for that. And also there is 1 candidate running for the all the zones. And that's Kirill Strutsky. He's running for re-election. He's the incumbent SPS president. So one of the candidates for the associate zone counselor is present today. So Jacob is running. So if you have questions of that, you can talk to him. Okay, great. And next up, I did want to mention about Sigma Pi Sigma. How many people know about Sigma Pi Sigma? Okay, most people do. Great, super. So I won't spend too much time on that. But it is the physics is honor society component of the Society of Physics students. They say they are linked but distinct. So it's a separate organization, but kind of falls under the same umbrella. And the purposes of Sigma Pi Sigma are to honor scholarship and current interest in physics, promote service, and provide fellowship. And typically, to become a member, you have to have a certain GPA and meet some certain academic requirements. Some chapters also have service requirements. There are also honorary ways to become involved or through service as well. So some reasons to join Sigma Pi Sigma. Well, there's it's first of all, it's an honor to be a part of this. And that's always great. We try to also honor graduate students and faculty if they've made significant contributions to the society or to the local chapters. And there are some other benefits too. For example, if you go into government service, you can guarantees you a certain entry level as far as the civil service classifications go. They're working on, there's a LinkedIn group, so you can try to do some networking. They're trying to do some other efforts in that regard to try to improve things there. So that's Sigma Pi Sigma. So the reason I mention it is because this is still sort of induction time for some chapters. Oftentimes people will do this at the end of the year. So, but it can actually be done anytime. So there's a bunch of resources here, which I'll send out this presentation to everybody. But nice website which talks about how to do induction ceremonies. Different chapters have different traditions and how they do this. But it's a nice thing there that spells it out sort of step by step what you need to do. There's even instructional videos. So I just want to mention that if you haven't done one or haven't done one in a while, it's a great thing to do. Another thing too that we're looking for now here as the academic year comes to a close is the chapter reports. So these are really critical for us to know what's going on in all the chapters throughout the country. They tell us what's going on in terms of activities, and just most importantly, I think, is that we get updated chapter contact information, right? So if you have new incoming officers, a part of the process of filing a chapter report is to put in that updated information. And that's really critical because otherwise we lose touch with people and we don't know who to contact anymore. So there's even a report template. It's just a Word document which you can download, and then you can fill in what you've done. And it's the template has a bunch of different sections, but you just put in what you've done, right? So you don't feel obligated. You have to sort of make things up, or don't feel like overwhelmed, like I can't file this because I don't have things in every category. No, just you put in what you put in. So we just want to know what you've been doing. And another good reason to file chapter reports is that I think the first 100 chapters get entered into a drawing for a pizza party. So get it in sooner rather than later. And also, that makes you eligible for chapter awards. So Beck and I have sat down over the last couple of years, and we read through every single one, every page of every single report we have to read through. And we and some other zone counselors and associate zone counselors rank them. And then those are submitted, and awards are given out based on those things. So we'll talk a little more about that today. But that's really important. If you haven't done one or haven't done one in a while, please submit your chapter reports.
When are the chapter reports?
Oh, yes,
That was-
chapter reports,
June 15th.
June 15th. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Again, we also try to encourage everybody to join actually the organization. Individual memberships are $24 for a 1-year membership. And you can just join online. It's instant, and there's lots of nice benefits. You can get the subscription to the SPS Observer, which is copies over here on the table. And also you can get then eligibility for scholarships and travel awards and a bunch of different things which are on the website. So encourage everybody to do that. There are some other programs available. So if you want to get together with some friends, you can get a group discount. And you can also, if you have a bunch of people in your whole university maybe, or college, then you can get a chapter membership. So that's kind of a flat rate, and you get 200 memberships. So that's a great opportunity to get a lot of people involved. So they'll also send you some other information, some other kits, for example, the toolbox, the sock, which I'll talk about later. I get an SBS store discount, so it's a nice opportunity. So I just want to encourage everybody to do that if you can. So here's a big list of this. I think I hit most of them, but yeah, it's a great opportunity to get a bunch of things. I know we've had several students who gotten $2,000 plus scholarships just by being members. So it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, a few years ago when COVID was coming through and everything, they actually had a relief grant that you could apply for to give you $1,000 towards your educational expenses. So when the time arises, they are here to support you. And that is at least how I found, I mean, not through that, but I found it very beneficial. The resources, the networks, and everything else I've been able to generate out of being a member. So.
Great, thanks. What I didn't mention though is you do get 2 free memberships with AIP societies. And let me tell you, once you become a professional, those are at least $100, $200 a piece. So it's a $300-$400 value here. So take advantage of that. I did want to introduce you briefly to the personnel in the national office. So Brad Conrad is the executive director, and he has some help from Kayla Stevens, who's the Society of Physics Students assistant director, and also Andrew Zidell, who's the Sigma Pi Sigma assistant director. And then other support staff here, Michaela and Lydia and Sasha, who help out. For example, if you send in things for Sigma Pi Sigma, you'll probably talk with Lydia at some point. So they're always really helpful. Okay, I wanted to just do a brief update about some of the chapter committees. So all the members of the National Council are assigned to a committee, and we then process business of the society that way through these committees. So there's basically this year, they change a little bit from year to year, but this year there was a governance committee, which talks about governing processes and documents and makes statements about that for the society, on behalf of the society. Chapter health this year was a big issue coming out of the pandemic, trying to promote the health of existing chapters and reactivate dormant chapters. And then there were 2 other committees, one sort of focusing on the Society of Physics students activities, also kind of trying to get people going with activities and revive dormant chapters, and Sigma Pi Sigma activities, which was kind of looking at chapter inductions, encouraging people, why aren't certain chapters doing inductions, how can we encourage people to do inductions, that kind of thing. So I was in the SPS, Becca was on Sigma Pi Sigma, right? Okay, that's what I thought. So I want to just briefly give some updates about these things. So one of the things that the governance committee does is create statements. So these are things that are considered to be of importance to the society. So they drafted a statement this year. This has not been officially approved yet, but this is the draft statement. Says the Society of Physics students and Sigma Pi Sigma recognize that many physics and astronomy departments are under threat. The council is concerned about recruitment, retention, and the future of physics and astronomy departments. We applaud the resilience and creativity of faculty, students, and chapters to sustain the traditions and networks that support our communities. The council acknowledges that SPS and Sigma Pi Sigma through its chapters must fortify and focus on the support of undergraduates and departments to ensure the health of our community and guarantee opportunities for future generations. Okay, so I know that there are definitely chapters. I've reached out to some people lately, and they're just like, we don't have a department anymore, or we don't have a major anymore. So this is a real issue, because if you don't have departments and majors, you don't have students. And so, not that you have to be a physics major to be in society physics students, but that's a good proportion of the number of people who are involved. So again, this is now being will be I think voted on by the council, and then eventually we'll go to the AAP, and they will review it as well, and eventually, if they approve it, then it will become an official statement. There have been other statements. For example, this one here. This was adopted in 2021. The Society of Physics Students Sigma Pi Sigma acknowledge that the success of all students is tied to mental health. As a national organization representing those with an interest in physics, we encourage chapters and advisors to discuss issues of mental health and to identify resources for students. And coming out of the pandemic, especially, this was an issue. It's probably still an issue. In fact, at the PhysCon, right? We have a big Congress. It's not just a conference, it's a Congress. So they voted, and the number one issue, far and away, was burnout, right? 38% of students identified burnout as the top issue. So that definitely falls into mental health. So the purpose of these statements is to then help motivate society activities, right? So since this statement was approved, they have now put together information to help students to deal with mental health issues. So that's hopefully then that will help some people out. Okay. Briefly, the chapter health committee was involved with contacting dormant chapters. These are people who chapters that haven't filed chapter reports in a while, or haven't been participating in other SPS activities in terms of having students applying for programs or scholarships or internships. Within our chapter, about 20 chapters were contacted. A lot of them didn't respond. Some were trying to revive their chapters. One thought revival was unlikely. So, we're working on it. That's why we're hoping to have more of these participation at these kind of Zoom meetings. So if you know of chapters or people that were other universities who don't have an active chapter, please let us know. We'll try to reach out to them. I've been doing a little bit of that. I was on the SPS committee this year. We contacted some inactive chapters. I also had sort of a mixed response. Some people had sent me a new officer list. I hadn't heard from them in a while. Some of them indicated they were no longer advising students, so on and so forth. So again, it's kind of an ongoing process. Do you want to talk about Sigma Pi Sigma stuff you did this year? Just briefly on the committee?
Sure. What is it?
Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so what I've been doing is kind of creating a framework in the background. We don't have our data really pretty. So I've been kind of cleaning it up a little bit so it's easier to tell, using conditional formatting and stuff like that. Hey, by the way, this chapter hasn't really done anything in the last 4 years. Maybe we should prioritize talking to them, because we can always try to process it one at a time, but having a more long-term solution kind of makes it easier to stay up on top of it. And I'm hoping that by alleviating that part of it, we can continue to encourage these inductions and stay in contact with these schools. So we have had some schools, I think, in the zone that have agreed to perform inductions because of the contacts, from my understanding. So, but yeah, there was a huge push a few months ago to reach out to all the United States chapters across all the zones. So.
Yeah, so they've been doing things like trying to improve the profile through web pages, Wikipedia pages, LinkedIn group, trying to create a campaign and some webinars to encourage, why should I join an honor society? It's kind of some people feel like it's exclusive, but we're trying to make the point that it's not exclusive. It's a matter of honoring people and also encouraging service to the profession. So that's been some of the things in, trying to tell people what's the value added for the membership. So that's been kind of some of the things that have been going on with that committee.
So if there's anything that you're looking for from a society, and particularly one that is related to physics, this, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the only honor societies that I'm familiar with relating to physics. But what I mean is, in order to turn it into something great, it takes people that put in the effort to do so, that have those ideas and spark those conversations. That way we can make those improvements and send them out and hopefully ramp up our involvement and grow. So.
Great, thanks. Okay, so locally, we've been pretty busy this year. I think we've been working hard. So, so we started off the year. As I mentioned, we reviewed and assessed the chapter reports. We helped to organize the Fall Zone meeting at Lawrence Tech. Thank you for helping out with that. We've been working. The biggest project though was this database. Then so we get every year this sort of what they call an activity report from the National Council. This is the information that gets fed in from when you file your chapter reports. And other things. And so it was not in such a great, easy to organize, easily searchable format. So Rebecca's done a great job here, kind of put it in sort of a different way that made it easier to kind of keep up, I think, in the future. In addition, we've been working hard to get our mailing lists up to date. Previously the mailing lists had been sort of completely administered by the national office, and they were kind of a little bit out of date. So we worked hard and got that up to date. Hopefully, everybody should have, if you're a chapter officer this past year, you should have been getting messages from us. So if you're not, let us know. And obviously we're going to help organize the meeting today. So that's some of the things got going on. I did want to just briefly mention a few things here about some resources that you may or may not be aware of. So if you have an SPS chapter, you're eligible to apply for some of these things or get access to some of these things. So for example, there's the so-called Science Outreach Catalyst Kits, which is abbreviated SOCKS. They used to actually send them out in gigantic stockings. They don't do that anymore. They come in a box now. It's like this. And it comes, I'll put this out here. It's got a bunch of different demonstrations and things typically related to a theme. And they're free. You just apply for them. They have so many available, first come, first serve, and they'll send it out. And so if you want, you can come take a look at the one we got for this year. This one was 2022 was Eclipse themed. We've had other ones themed around acoustics and the International Year of Acoustics. This is great. Like if you want to do some outreach work with local students or even at your own university, this stuff's just fun to play with. Be a nice activity for maybe a few meetings. So apply for those. They're 100% free. Also, there is a SPS demonstrations library. So if you again want to do some outreach or do some fun stuff to get people to come to your meetings or even at meetings, these are a bunch of sort of web pages that talk about different demonstrations, and they tell you kind of what audience they're for and what equipment you need to do them. And so that's nice. If you're not too creative certain days, you can just go there and try to see what they have available. They're doing a pretty nice job with those. And even Physics Jeopardy. So I need a quick meeting. Okay. They have some pre-made Physics Jeopardy games. You just download them and you can run them. Okay. So it's a quick, easy meeting. And those are all available from the SPS Outreach website. Also, alumni engagement program. So if you, there's a website where you can go to that website and you can find out people who are alumni in physics, and they're not just professors. These are people in a bunch of different areas, and they're people who have volunteered to give talks, right? So you can call them up. Some of them will come in person. Some of them may, do it via Zoom, depending where you're at. Or if you just want to reach out, maybe you're interested in national security research, and you just want to talk to somebody who's done that, who's doing that right now. These are people who are willing to talk to you, right? It doesn't even have to be a whole meeting, right? I say, I'm just interested. We sit down and talk to me. Tell me what you do, right? So, and as I know, it can be hard to kind of cold call people. So these are people who already have committed to Society of Physics students. They're willing to help. So you already have sort of a barrier broken down there. So In some cases, you might even be able to job shadow with them if you're close by, maybe help them find mentorship in some cases. So really great opportunities to take advantage of that. There's some other things available through the SPS website. There's the SPS jobs site, which if you're looking for a job related to physics, you can go there. Talk about career options and job opportunities. There's a career toolbox, especially designed for undergraduate physics students, to help you kind of, maybe fix up your resume or, think about how you want to market yourself. And of course, there's the grad school shopper, which I'll talk a little bit more about later, but it's a website where you can go and find out about graduate schools. So again, all this stuff is provided for free. You just need to look it up. So this page has a little more information about the career toolbox, but I'll let you read through that later. And again, it's all free to download. It's got information about how to develop your skills and market yourself. Okay. One thing I do want to pitch out here is a zone council. I've been trying to kind of get this off the ground for the last few years, and it's been hard with the pandemic, but we have, as I mentioned, a pretty large geographical area, and I'm just here in Michigan. And so it'd be nice to have some different perspectives from folks all over. And so or just to have even if more people within Michigan, to kind of give us a different perspective on what you think would be helpful to do as a zone. So if anyone would like to volunteer for that, I'm happy to take take your name down and put you on the list. And it's going to be a relatively low time commitment. We're just probably going to meet maybe once or twice a semester and help plan for zone meetings and get the latest insight from the National Council. So if you're interested in that, please let me know. Ideally, I'd like to have somebody from every state. That'd be great. Okay. Again, so I just want to talk about chapter reports and dormant chapters. So we have almost 100 chapters, as I mentioned, in the zone, but typically we're less than 30 file chapter reports. Okay. So we were second last year. We were previous year we were #1 in the country in the number of chapter reports that were filed, but we fell just slightly behind. So I want to kind of see if we can get back on track this year. But we want to hear from you. So please make sure you file your chapter reports. And also we have some chapters which I think are we haven't heard from in a long time, and we'd like to kind of revive. So we're doing that as an ongoing basis. But if you know people at other universities who don't have an SPS chapter, but you think they're interested in having one, please reach out to me or the new incoming associate zone counselor, and we'll try to work with that.
On the flip side, there are a lot of schools that think they have an SPS chapter, but they have no registered members and they don't submit chapter reports, and we have no record of them existing, or like they exist, but they look dormant in our database. So if there are schools that know that they have an SPS chapter, feel free to encourage them to reach out anyway, just to kind of make sure that we've got it down, that they are out there and that they are doing things, because we want to record all of your successes and all of your adventures so that we can share it with everybody else. Because if you are looking for inspiration or activities, or you want to see what other schools have done, I can show you 30 other schools and what they've done over the last year. And I can tell you who they are, and I'll even give you their email, and you can reach out and ask them for advice. I can do that, but I have to have that data first. So.
Great. Did you want to talk more about chapter reports now or later?
Yeah, I don't know.
How are we doing on time? Let's see. I'm probably
Like
already over. Hold on, let me check the schedule. Yeah. So, okay. Why don't we? I'll just finish this out here, and then we can move into that. Okay. So. So yeah, so I wanted to open the floor here, see if there's any discussion at this point, anything you'd like to talk about, any problems you've been facing this past year, or any resources you might need, how might we be able to help, those are the kinds of things, feedback we'd like to get. So Any comments or questions here at this point?
Personally, here at Wayne State, one thing that I see an issue with in terms of trying to keep our momentum going is money for events. Trying to get funding so that, because we don't receive a whole lot of money from the university, especially for Wayne State, it is a challenge getting money moved around to us. And so just trying to get money so that we don't have to take out of our own pockets to provide for events. Like if we want to do a get together or something, or we'll always have a department barbecue, but that is partially funded by the department. If we want to do something purely SPS, getting more funding to ensure that we can have a successful event is a challenge. So I'm not sure what, and I mean, I know like for the zone meeting here, we have $600. I don't know if there's other funds that could go to chapters if they request.
Yeah, I'm not aware of the Society of Physics Students funds specifically for meetings, for example, outside of the zone meeting. But there are other actual pots of money available for things like outreach. So if you want to do an outreach event, you can apply for some funds for that. They have awards that come up in the fall typically. I didn't present those slides, but yeah, there is some event. There's also, if you do an outreach event and there's an award you can apply for, which I think actually comes with some something like that where you can maybe use kind of for future events too. So, but that's great feedback. And the other thing I will mention is that there is a web part of on the Society of Physics website. There's some ideas about how to do fundraising, and there's some pretty novel ideas out there. The one that always comes to mind is at Grove City. They do a rent a student, where they actually have students, people in the community will help pay for, they want their leaves raked or something in the fall, and they'll pay for that service, and then the money goes to the chapter, right? So the students do the work, but the money goes to the chapter. They have done stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a lot of stuff. I've got so many things.
Go ahead.
So this is where you need to reach out to everybody that you know, your peers, other schools, see what they do and make those connections, like I said, because we can really build off of those. So I know at Kettering, maybe not for the Society of Physics students, but other organizations on campus, they'll do pie a professor. So it's just a plate with whipped cream, and you can pay $15 or whatever to get some whipped cream on your professor's face. So all you have to do is have some willing people and, some creative ideas. I know this one group of students, they have like a whole bar, and they get money. People pay money to keep students on bikes, and they're sitting in the lobby on these like stationary bikes, and you pay money to keep them on the bike, because it's more of an athletic group. But so what? There's one where it's like, get your legs waxed. If they get $50, you can wax their legs. If it's $100, they dye their hair. If it's $200, whatever. And they get to wear a pink banana suit for the rest of the week. That's the gig. But you have $300 now, right? So there are many, many fun and easy ways that don't cost a lot of money. I know other groups, they have like a spaghetti night. So they just make a bunch of spaghetti and people come in, pay $5 and get some spaghetti and go. There's another group that does it with mac and cheese, and you have all your toppings. People can make their own custom bowls. It's not that difficult, but it does take a little bit of time and effort to plan. So
Yeah.
It just depends on how you want to do it.
On the food side, I know that there's been some groups that will collaborate with the local restaurants, and they'll promote that, a certain percent of the proceeds from that
Right.
day will go to the club. Another one that stands out in my mind is the pumpkin drop. Pumpkin drop. They have from the top of this fifth story at the top of their building, they drop these people basically decorate pumpkins. They pay to decorate pumpkins, and then they will drop them for you. It's kind of a big event. They live stream the whole thing. So there was a think about that at PhysCon. There was a talk about that. So there's definitely some options there. But yeah, fundraising is an issue if you can't get it from your own student,
But I know,
organizations.
yeah, like the Renaissance Festival. I didn't realize this, but the way that they work is the booths, a lot of them are volunteer run. So they're volunteer run, you run it for the weekend or, whatever day or shift you partner up with a group of people to do. And you get a cut of the money that they make that day. So the last time, so they split 50-50, like the people that work there to the people that are volunteering there. So you'll have a whole group of people that all volunteer for a day for like the whole event. So, I mean, we're talking a pretty grand scheme thing, but they get 30 grand.
So you're saying get a group of people.
I'm saying if you can rent one of their booths and help that team out and you get 1 grand of that 30 grand, you're doing all right.
Wow, yeah.
The options are out there. You just have to ask. You got to find them.
And those are fun options.
Yeah.
We've typically done bake sales, we've done
Right.
t-shirts, sold them for a profit.
Right.
So we've raised money before.
Right.
Great.
But I think the issue I'm seeing as SPS advisor also is trying to get students involved again.
Yeah.
After the pandemic,
Sure.
that's the number one challenge.
Sure.
Yeah.
So.
But in order to get involved, you have to
Must
have
be
money.
right.
And in order to
It's
have
a
the
catch
money,
22.
you got to do something. Right. So
you
no,
gotta
I
do something
completely
fun,
understand.
get 'em in.
Yeah.
I love that idea. That's
Do it on Pi Day and it just really seals the deal.
That's a great idea. High day, yes.
Yep. So there's one group that I know that they go to Sam's Club and they buy like tubs and tubs of peanut butter and chocolate and graham crackers. They make pies and they sell pies. And they're actually really good. You can make a very affordable pie. Just make a lot of them. So it's fun. And just because somebody does the event to make the money doesn't mean that they're going to stick around for the whole, year, but that's okay. Take what you can and people will stick around if you do enough of it.
I know that we've also had issues with engagement at Kettering and just, part of it was that people just stopped going to meetings during the pandemic, right? There's a whole group of freshmen, sophomores coming in who just didn't have that experience. So, we've been trying to pivot a little bit and some of the things I think we were going to try to bring back some of the things we had done previously. So for example, we used to do a cardboard boat regatta.
That was fun.
We would get, that was nice because you could get some sort of fraternities and sororities around to kind of help build the boats. And so it would kind of naturally bring in people. And then we would do it in the pool. And so there was that. And then we've also kind of lately been trying to pivot kind of to do more kind of project-based type things, because at least at our school, there's people like to do stuff hands-on. So, I had a student he built the track, whether it was a magnetic track, and as part of his honors project, and he had a superconducting disc, and it would levitate on the track, right? And so that was great. People came out for that, to see that. We've done also, this term, we're doing a bunch of stuff with sensors. So we're trying to get a kind of new sensors major off the ground in the university. And so we've got some talks coming, people talking about sensors. So sometimes you just have to find some things that people are interested in or projects that people want to do. Sometimes that costs money, obviously, to do projects, but sometimes it doesn't cost that much. So find what you want to do.
I think it's also an important thing to think of things that don't really cost money. They might cost your time, but something at Kettering that I think is a big thing. We're a smaller school, but just having a presence of our club out there, because a lot of clubs are writing things on whiteboards like, hey, come to this. And there's constantly people talking about it. And so that's something I wanted to try at Kettering this next term while I'm there is, maybe make a Kahoot. It doesn't even have to be physics based. You just make a Kahoot and people can show up during lunch hour or something, go, oh, that's cool, sign on, do it. And they don't even have to stay there. It's no commitment, but it's getting your name out there. And then you have more people, and then you have more people to do stuff with, and then you have more commitment. And it's just that kind of presence that's really important. And that presence doesn't take money, it takes time.
Yeah, I think this, yeah, the publicity angle is another important one, right? Getting the word out is just sometimes a struggle. I mean, people get so many email messages. I still find that's kind of the best way that we communicate with people, but there are other ways now too. So, we've started to have, I think we can submit stuff to the university and they can post it on the little, television screens are all over campus, or there's a weekly newsletter that goes out from the university as long as you submit it in advance for, I think it's a week in advance, and they'll send out stuff to everybody on campus, right? So even just something simple like posters, like photocopy posters. Obviously, we're a smaller school, we can do that. Wayne State, you probably can't do that, but at least around the building, maybe, right? So those are the kinds of things getting the word out. Discord, for example, I know I'm supervising a different student group and they're very active with Discord, and that helps them a lot. So whatever happens to work for the people that are involved, right? That's what are they? So Lawrence Tech, what's you do anything over there? What do you usually do?
Yeah, our main problem recently has been getting more people involved. So at the beginning of the year, we might have a few people sign up, but throughout the semester, we see it become like a small.
Decreasing over time, yeah, attendance, yeah.
I want to question that. Let's reframe our perspective. So our activities, the way we're kind of thinking about it is what can we go and do? What can we set up, right? But I know for me, in the middle of the year, towards the end of the year, I don't want to be roped into more things to do. There's way too many things to do. So what am I doing at that time that I can get involved with something SPS related, but it doesn't feel like I'm signing up for another commitment or I have another thing to do, right? So is it you have a room, or you just take over a study lounge somewhere and you just say, hey, this is the SPS study lounge now, everybody's welcome. And, maybe you have a professor visit from a class and they just kind of tutor like an informal thing. So how can we low key kind of change our perspective that seems to drive people away when things get a little tough? Because something like SPS should be more of a stress reliever and not a stress like earner. So
For example, at Wayne State, there's a lot of events that we have that we set up with the department where it's sponsored by SPS.
right.
How we put our name.
Exactly.
Like recently we had April 25th was the university study day.
Mhm.
And Society of Physics students sent out a whole bunch of emails across the physics department to say, hey, we are hosting a final exam study session. Come chill with us, have a little refreshments and work together on studying.
Yeah.
So that was already a day that was already set up and we kind of just interjected ourselves. So stuff like that and getting our name out there with the events that are already being set up really helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I
Absolutely.
had one of the biggest attendance that we had a meeting this past year was I was teaching electricity and magnetism, and the students had an exam the next day. And I said, come out and I'll help, I'll be there. And, if you have questions, and they just worked on worksheets and, it was great. I mean, they were highly motivated to be there because they wanted to study for their exam. Right. So, but if you can, you can sort of pitch some society of physics, and you can at least, that's a great opportunity for publicity, right? Just, maybe not everybody will come back, but at least maybe some will. Right. So sometimes you do have to kind of, as you said, kind of latch on to other things too, right? To get people to come.
And like you said, meet them where they're at,
Mhm.
basically. So creating something new to get them to.
Right. And in my experience, like my time at school is very, very different from somebody who's coming into the class now. Just socially and otherwise, there's like a difference. I don't know what it is. I haven't quite pinpointed it yet, but the types of activities that I would engage in are different from the types of activities somebody 4 or 5 years younger than me would engage in. Just with the way that they grew up with different technologies than I did. And it's apparent. So how can we change our perspective to accommodate that? And what kind of activities do they like to do? Like I know we had our meetings on a town hall type of like video game screen, kind of, and you had different zones on this room and you just walk into the zone and there's the YouTube video, or you walk into that zone and there's somebody speaking, or like, there's a quiet zone, there's a study like zone. And it's cool because we don't have to get up, we don't have to do anything, but we can be together and feel together more so than just a Zoom call or like a Google something, right? So there's lots of cool things, and I want to have discussions like that because some school might be doing something that we just don't know about, and it just takes looking it up and saying, wow, that is a cool idea. But of course, there's the next thing of somebody needs to make it happen. So it's difficult.
Something I kind of really like is the idea of utilizing the people you have. So I'm younger. I just finished my freshman year, so I'm with the kind of younger students. I'm an RA, I'm with the freshmen. And so I can actively get them to like, oh, you need this. Okay, it might be a week or two out, then we can like build it to that point where it's like you need some help, or we all like physics. So if the freshmen are having a hard time in their physics class, we've all been there. We've all had a hard physics class. We might as well help them and go in and study and everything like that. And sometimes it's more just being a friend and, finding that, oh, my treasurer is really good at art. Maybe we can build something off of that. So just build what you have already, that small family, and build it into something bigger and bigger. And you can slowly bring everyone into it. And everyone has different likes. So.
Sure. Hiba, I want to make sure you didn't get left out of the conversation here. So do you have any comments about things that you think you might want to do?
No, so I think McKenna touched on it. The fact that you use the existing resources, whether faculty, staff, other organizations, like if you have an engineering society, a certain one, and they're doing an event, but you both can collaborate, then it might happen. It's easier, and then the funding becomes kind of a joint effort, and also coming from both teams instead of just from one. But
Sure.
also actually going back in time for a person that is trying to kind of revive a dormant chapter and a newer faculty, usually where does the starting money come from? Is it coming from student? Can we ask, like, usually do we ask universities to fund the start of organizations so that we can start doing events and then we can fundraise more? Or so?
Yeah, I know that I think a lot how student organizations are funded depend a lot on the university or college.
Yeah.
So that's something you might ask about.
Okay.
I can ask to see if there's some funding available for that kind of thing. Brad Conrad is very keen on getting new chapters going. So that's something I will ask about. But yeah, generally speaking, I would start with your student organization. The other thing too is just asking your department head or your dean, because student engagement is critical for retention. I think that's a case you can make to the administrator. That's what they care about. They care about tuition dollars, for better or for worse. And so if you can say, look, we can keep our students here and engaged in our program if they're involved with these kinds of organizations, that's important, right? And they may give you a few $100s. It doesn't take that much money to buy some pizza or just have some basic activities.
And one more thing before if I ever have to head out, I know that I could email you, but you said if there are any volunteers to help out with zone events or anything, just add me to that list. So I know I told you this. Perfect.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Yeah, and if you have students, once you get to the point where you have some students who might want to be involved, just have us reach out. I'm happy to come down there even in person and then give a presentation or whatever. So
perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.
I would also like to note, just a small little side note, that sometimes the word physics scares kids. Not kids, students. Sorry, I refer to people as kids a lot. It scares a lot of people being like, oh, we're gonna have to do math. I don't want to do math. I'd rather go hang out with the sports teams or something like that. So I think creating a fun, active environment that doesn't have to deal with like physics completely is a good idea, because some people are like, I already have 5 classes I need to do. This is stressful. Do something that's like accepting and like, you don't have to do math. It's not actually super physics related because physics isn't everything. It's just more fun.
Sure. Yeah, I know that, some chapters have done these sort of bad physics movie nights, and movies that don't quite meet physical laws, but, they're kind of fun to make fun of or they're just movies, right? So you can have, enjoy the movie and some fellowship essentially. Another thing that we used to do in the past, we haven't done lately too much, was the just making liquid nitrogen ice cream, right? I mean, it's quick, it's easy. You can make a big bowl of it and then scoop it out in little cups and hand it out to people as they walk by. We've done that kind of in the main student building we used to have. So, that's another option. It's not too hard to do something like that, and it's still fun, and it doesn't really require physics per se.
So, yeah, I mean, Kettering is a school that doesn't really have a lot of physics majors. It's primarily comprised of mechanical engineers, some chemical engineers and everything else. So we don't have the mindset of, well, it's the Society of Physics students. It has to be the physics students. Otherwise it's not, right. It can be anything. Really, it's just to diversify your experiences and your knowledge and then your network as well. So maybe you want to get to learn more about what a chemical engineer does or a mechanical engineer. The Society of Physics students can help you get all in one room to be able to talk. That's a way we can think about it too.
Yeah, and I think also latching on to kind of events that are in the broader culture can sometimes be helpful. For example, there's a movie coming out Robert Oppenheimer this summer. It'd be great to do some, program running in and about that, maybe in the fall. Or these astronomical events, the eclipse will be coming up not this year, but the year after the big eclipse. So we'll definitely have some programming about that. But that's something you can also do, kind of get the word out. I'm always amazed at how many people are interested in astronomy and those kinds of things. They just don't know much about it, right? And so if you can provide a little bit of programming in that regard, it may be really basic physics or astronomy, but it still could be interest to a wider audience, right? So that's something definitely to look into. And there's some other areas, even with like engineering, for example. I've gotten involved a little bit with our amateur radio club, and that's physics, right? Electromagnetic waves are physics, as far as I'm concerned. And that's the way you can kind of link in to people who are interested in kind of physics related stuff, right? But maybe not majoring in that topic per se.
I do want to add on,
Yeah.
Going back a couple of points. Going to your dean and department chair for funding and stuff like that. For us at Wayne State, we've had a really nice success with that so far. For example, today, the dean of College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, which includes physics department, they paid for the parking.
Sure.
So that's what, hopefully everyone took advantage of that. But yeah, they offered to pay for our parking after we got it out there. And also I talked to Dr. Ed Katkin, who's the chairman of the physics and astronomy department here. I sat down with him and I, talked to him about, hey, SPS has a lot of great benefits, and we are trying to get SPS out there as much as possible on Wayne State campus. We can register the entire department for a flat fee of $350. And he approved the department paying for that $350 flat rate. So if you're asking around, I genuinely believe that those people will be willing to help out. I mean, free parking, and now we get people registered into National SPS, and it was just as simple as talking to them. And also in terms of going back to making physics fun, like you said, and I forget who the other one, McKenna, sorry, McKenna also mentioned like astronomy events, for example. After the meeting today over on Belle Isle at the Nature Center, the Wayne State Planetarium is helping with the statewide astronomy night. We're going to be, I mean, it's going to be cloudy, but we're still going to be out there with physics demos, spectroscopy, and just
Sure.
showcasing physics
Sure.
and showing that you don't need to have some big math background to understand and appreciate physics that's going on around you. So I think that events like those to showcase are very big to show people that, hey, physics can be fun. Look at how sweet this is, you know?
Yeah, and oftentimes if you're doing that kind of outreach where you're getting not only the word about physics, but word about your university,
Yeah.
that's something that sometimes the administrators are willing to pay for.
Yeah.
Part of the comes out of the marketing budget. So yeah, that's another great idea. We had a new arrival. Do you want to introduce yourself here?
Sure, Peter Bhattacharya, from Lawrence Tech. I'm one of the co-advisors of FBS at Lawrence Tech, the Lawrence Tech chapter.
Yes. Thank you.
I'm
Thank
sorry
you.
I'm late because we had the commencement stuff today.
Sure,
That's
of course. Yeah, it's commencement season for sure. Yeah, and I just want to publicly thank you again for helping us organize the zone meeting in the fall, Lawrence Tech. That was very helpful.